Does Revere TV realize that on Comcast, Revere TV is out, so no meetings are being broadcast through cable?
I'll check with Andrew.
Good evening. Welcome to the Revere City Council meeting of March 8th, 2021. We'll all rise and salute the flag, please. I pledge allegiance
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the
of the
United
of the United States of America,
and to the republic
to the republic
for
for which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
God,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Roll call of the members. Councilor Janino.
Here.
Here. Councilor Gunasso.
Here.
Here. Councilor Keith.
Here.
Here. Councilor McKenna.
Here.
Here. Councilor Morbido.
Here.
Here. Councilor Novoselsky.
Here.
Here. Councilor Powers.
Here.
Here. Councilor Rotundo. Councilor Rotundo. Absent. Councilor Sereno.
Here,
Here. Councilor Visconti.
Here.
Here. And Council President Zambudo.
Here.
Here. A quorum is present. Oh, is that, excuse me. Calendar item number 2, approval of the journal of the regular meeting of February 22nd, 2021.
So moved.
All in favor, all opposed? So voted.
Calendar item number 3, a resolution of condolence will be offered in memory of former City Councilor John F. Hurley, who passed on March 2nd, 2021.
Counsel Janino. Counsel Janino?
Sorry, I was on mute. Madam Clerk, would you mind reading the resolution of condolences? I do not have it in front of me, and then I'll be happy to say a few words.
Resolution of condolence. Whereas former City Councilor John F. Hurley has rendered conspicuous, faithful, and honorable public service to the citizens of the City of Revere in his duties as a City Councilor. And whereas Almighty God, in his infinite wisdom, has called former City Councilor John F. Hurley to his eternal reward. And whereas the sad calling from our midst of former City Councilor John F. Hurley leaves a vacancy in the official family of the City of Revere that will be difficult to fill, and a memory that will long be cherished. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the members of the Revere City Council extend to the family of former City Councilor John F. Hurley, on behalf of the citizens of Revere, our heartfelt sympathy and sincerest regrets on their profound loss. And be it further resolved that in recognition of former City Councilor John F. Hurley's service to the citizens of Revere, that the City Council pays sincere tribute to his memory by spreading upon the official records of the Revere City Council a copy of this resolution of condolence.
Thank you, Mr. President, and thank you, Madam Clerk. If we were in the chamber, I would have read the formal resolution. I do appreciate, Mr. President, the leeway in putting this before the council this evening and for allowing me to speak. John Hurley not only served the City of Revere as a City Councilor for 11 years, but he dedicated his life to the City of Revere. He worked for the Revere Public School Systems for his entire life. He raised his family in the City of Revere. He was a veteran for the City of Revere. But more importantly to me on a personal note, he was a dear friend. He was a friend of my grandparents for my entire life. And I grew up with him and Ginny and having them as a part of my life. And they really are just the best people you could ever imagine to meet. John was one of the most brilliant men I've ever known. He was so quick with numbers and just such a brilliant person. And he will truly be lost. And there's truly a void, not only in the City of Revere, but in the city council and in our family as a city council. You know, this is a very small group, and anytime there's a loss, it means a great deal to us. So I offer my deepest sympathies and condolences to Ginny and her children during this really difficult time. I know John will be sorely missed by all of us. And I ask at this time that we offer a moment of silence unless anyone else wanted to speak. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Counselor. Moment of silence. Thank you.
Calendar item number 4, we're up to the zoning subcommittee report.
Chairman Keefe.
Mr. President, point of order, Mr. President.
State your
personal
point.
privilege.
State your point.
I just wanted to say a few words about John Hurley, if I could. I did have my hand raised, so. I think I'm the only one in the present council that served with John back in the 70s. And he and I became dear friends. And even after he left, he and Ginny and myself were always very close. And as Councilor Janino said, he will be dearly missed. He was a great guy, wouldn't hurt a flea or a fly. And he was a great guy. And we will miss him. So thank you for the time.
Thank you, Counselor. Chairman Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. Tonight, we had a zoning subcommittee that was well attended. We spoke in regards to the ordinance regarding the City of Revere Riverfront Overlay District. And after a lengthy discussion and many, many questions and comments, that will remain in committee. And we will bring that back to conversation for the March 22nd zoning meeting. I'd like to schedule that at least so we can at least have an hour, Madam Clerk. So at 5 o'clock would be great. 5 to 5:30? Understood. I know 4:30 wouldn't be possible, right? Great. Well, you know what? Possibly we can have this on a day, an off day, Madam Clerk? All right. If the council's good with that, we can have it on an off day. We can do that on, we can host this, I'd be willing to host it next Monday at 5 p.m. if everyone would be good with that. Monday the 15th? Monday the 15th, if we can do that, that'd be great. For the next zoning subcommittee. And then the second item, the approval of the 22 Naples Road Auto Body Shop. That was voted out unanimously.
Correction. It's not an auto body shop, it's a
sorry.
repair shop.
Repair shop. See,
Not an auto body.
we don't always know.
No auto body.
Good thing I'm just a counselor. The repair shop was voted out favorably with the conditions from site plan and some additional conditions from Council Ganasso, and that was voted out unanimously.
Would you like a roll call on that?
I would love that. Thank you.
Roll call.
Shall the City Council grant the relief requested, subject to the findings and conditions of site plan review? Councilor Janino.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Guanasso.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Keefe.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor McKenna.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Morbido.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Novoselsky.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Powers.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Rotundo. Absent. Councilor Sereno.
Yes.
Yes. Councilor Visconti.
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Zambudo.
Yes.
Yes, the special permit has been granted.
And that was all the business for the zoning subcommittee, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Calendar item number 6, a communication from the Election Commissioner requesting an approval of the exemption of the Conflict of Interest Law.
Motion is on file.
Madam Election Commissioner, are you with us? I don't see her on here.
Yeah, she's on as a panelist.
Oh.
Mr. President, is there a vote required on this?
Is she? No, she's here in person. Okay. Well, go right ahead. You can turn that mic on. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank
and
you,
I'm-
Madam Commissioner.
I do apologize for this.
No problem.
Okay, so the approval of exemption is being made by the Board of Election Commissioners. Excuse me, I just ran up the steps. So,
You can take your mask off.
oh, okay, so there's four employees of the City of Revere. One person is a board member, the Board of Health. Two are cafeteria workers at the school department. And the third is a part-time worker at the senior center. They're wonderful people, they're hard workers. I always need poll workers. So approving this exemption allows them to work at the polls on election day.
Great, thank you. Do we need a roll call on this?
Yes.
Roll call.
I appreciate you working with me, sir. Thank you.
Shall the City Council approve an exemption in Mass General Laws, Chapter 268A, Section 20B, to allow municipal employees to work the polls on Election Day? Counselor Janino?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Guanasso?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Keith?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor McKenna?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Morabito?
No.
No. Counselor Novoselsky?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Powers?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Rotundo is
Yes.
yes. Counselor Sereno?
Yes.
Yes. Counselor Visconti?
Yes.
Yes. And Council President Zambudo?
Yes.
Yes, the conflict of interest form has been approved.
Thank you so much.
Calendar item number 7, communication from Frank D'Angelo, 185 Rumney Road, requesting that the City Council pass a resolution of no confidence in Governor Baker for his mishandling of the distribution of the coronavirus vaccine.
Mr. President,
Counselor Sereno.
I spoke with Mr. D'Angelo over the weekend, and he requested that this be placed on file.
Okay. Well, that was generous.
Thank you.
Thank you. Placed on file.
Calendar item number 8, communication from firefighter Kevin O'Hara, President Local 926, requesting approval of the attached special legislation and act relative to the reserve time of public safety personnel in the city of Revere. It should be noted that Councilors Janino and Sereno are recused from discussion on this matter.
Before we get started, I'm going to set a couple of little ground rules here. I'm going to allow the lieutenant to speak, even though this should not be before us at this time. However, I'm not having any discussion of councilors on this. It's going to 2 committees, one to the Retirement Board and one to Ways and Means. And when the Retirement Board acts on this, it'll come back to us in Ways and Means, and we'll deal with it then. So if the lieutenant is on, I'll let him speak, and then we'll go from there. I also see that the chairman of the Retirement Board is here, Mr. Viscay. Huh? I don't believe you're going to. Are you looking to speak, Mr. Viscay? Yeah, I guess he is.
Only if I have to. But if you're going to put it to the Retirement Board and
That's what's going to happen.
committee, I think there's a lot to be spoken on the matter, but I respect your deferral.
Well, as a courtesy, I'm going to let the lieutenant speak, or the president of the union speak, and then it's going right to retirement. It has no business before the council at this point.
Okay, well, if needed, I'm here, but I won't tie up this meeting at all.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that.
I said I'm here if you need me, but I won't tie up the meeting. So
Great. Well, thank you. Thank you for attending.
thank you.
Mr. O'Hara, are you here?
Yes, Council President. I'll introduce myself to the councilors. Lieutenant Kevin O'Hara, President, Local 926 Revere Firefighters. Tonight, I'm here to speak on some special legislation I submitted to the council that I believe we have no problem with it going to the Retirement Board to be discussed. It's going to be a long process. I believe it's a 3-step process. This is basically special legislation that's going to fix something that was broken, that needs to be repaired. It's regarding reserve time that the brothers and sisters of Local 926 have earned, and after 10 years, it was taken away from them. So if there's, I guess there's not going to be a discussion on it, so I guess the next step is to send it to Special Legislation Affairs, and then it goes to the Retirement Board, or is it the Retirement Board and then Legislation Affairs?
We don't act on this in any way until the Retirement Board acts on it. That's what happens next.
Okay, that's understandable, and I'd rather see it go through the proper steps before we move forward to go to the special legislation.
And there'll be plenty of time to discuss the merits of it at that point. Thank you.
Okay, so
thank
thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and I'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Right. Thank you, Lieutenant. Bye-bye.
Okay.
Okay, so this is going to Retirement and Ways and Means.
Calendar items 9 through 20 are relative to appointments.
Appointments.
Mr. President, Mr. President,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. President, I have scheduled a meeting on March 22nd at 5:30 for the appointment subcommittee.
all two appointments.
Calendar item number 21, motion presented by Councilor Novoselsky, that the mayor be requested to include in the fiscal year 2022 budget funding for the replacement of 20 veterans memorial signs to include poles and black plates that have been missing since the blizzard of '78.
Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, just a little amendment, if I may. Those 20 signs are those that are missing in Ward 2, in my ward only. Many years ago, I worked with Nick Boer to make a list of all the signs in the city, and I actually did double check. And since the blizzard of '78, 20 veterans have been lost as far as they're being memorialized. And I've worked through with 4 mayors, and I'm not throwing anybody under a bus, but I'm just frustrated. I've worked with 4 mayors and 3 veteran people, directors, and only 2 have been reinstalled. And I'm very frustrated, and I think it's time that the mayor put some money in the budget to replace these 20 veterans' names in my neighborhood, veterans who were brought up there, and many of them who died in action. And it's just very frustrating. So I ask that the council approve this and make this request to the mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Hopefully we'll get them done. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Calendar item number 22, motion presented by Councilor Janino, that the mayor request the Director of Veterans Affairs and the DPW to install a memorial pole at an appropriate location to be determined by the family at a later date for former City Councilor John F. Hurley, Army Corporal, Korean conflict.
Councilor Janino.
Thank you, Mr. President. As we discussed earlier and had a moment of silence in honor of John's passing, I found this appropriate and I wanted to make sure that we put this before the council. I spoke with the Director of Veterans Affairs and he's on board as well. So he has all the paperwork that he needs to make this happen formally. The family is on board. They've written a few words that they'll share with people when there is a date established for a ceremony. So they will be coordinating with Mark Silvestri on a location for the pole, as well as a ceremony that we can all hopefully gather safely outside and celebrate John's memory. Thank you.
Great, thank you. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed?
Mr. President.
Go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr.
Councilor
President.
Novoselsky.
I just want to make sure that the sign is properly put together. And as we passed several years ago, that since John is a city official, he will not only get the gold star, but he'll also get the seal of the city of Revere on the plaque.
Very nice.
So I just want to make sure that's put forward. Thank you.
Great. So I'm sure that friendly amendment will be accepted by Councilor Janino.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Great, great, thank you. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Calendar item number 23, motion presented by Councilor Guanasso, that the mayor request the Traffic Commission to amend Schedule 8 of Title 10 parking restrictions generally by adding Cummings Avenue from number 23 to number 27, no parking anytime.
Councilor Guanasso.
Mr. President, if one were to traverse Cummings Ave, they would see that between 23 and 27 Cummings Ave is a very narrow driveway. And unfortunately, neighbors seem to find that to their liking to park right to the edge of both of those endings of those that driveway, making it prohibited for the homeowner at 27 to use that driveway. So this will benefit the homeowner at 27, allowing him to use his driveway. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. On the motion, all in favor, all opposed, so voted.
Calendar item number 24, motion presented by Councilors Sereno and McKenna, that the City Council order to a public hearing the following amendment to the revised ordinances of the City of Revere. relative to rodent control. Do you want me to read it or waive the reading?
Can we
Waive the
wait?
reading, Madam
Can we
Clerk.
wait
Okay.
Okay, Counselor Sereno.
Thank you, Mr. President. So Councilman McKenna and I filed this jointly in response to a resident who had concerns regarding baiting on his street when I believe it was a utility company. It was not the city, but a utility company was out there doing work and they didn't bait. And then they didn't bait correctly. He had the issue corrected and they were told to bait. But then this company did not bait. So long story short, I dove into the ordinances and very quickly, the highlights of the correction that I'm proposing is that it increases the number of days for baiting before a project begins from 10 to 14. It enhances language by including explicit language to require baiting through the duration of a project, which is not currently in the statute. It increases the number of days for baiting after a project from 10 to 14. It includes language to require baiting for demolition projects, which again is not explicitly in the ordinance. It fixes a typo in the original ordinance and creates a new subsection to require that baiting occur for any project that requires the opening of public streets by the city or its agents for utility projects and infrastructure projects. And finally, adds language to require that bait traps are placed and spaced according to industry standards. Because when they did put the baiting, the traps down, he didn't space them correctly, and he put like one every 300 feet in. So if we could discuss this more in committee, maybe there will be amendments, but and I'm sure Councilor McKenna, as my joint presenter, has some words too.
Mr. President, Councilor Novoselsky.
Do I get to speak first?
Yes, Councilor
Sure you
McKenna.
do.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. So this resident, first of all, we can't let our guard down. We had a major rat problem in the city about a year ago. We've controlled it. We've really worked very hard to control the rats in our city. And when a contractor comes in and he doesn't bait, rats come back. And that's what's happening in this residential part in my ward. So we did call the exterminator, the construction worker. He did come down and bait, but we can't just, be, okay, well, the rat problem is fixed and we just can't let our guards down. So it created a lot of rats in that residence. And so this is a great motion. Thank you, Councilor Sereno, for writing it up.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Novoselsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, this is a great motion. I know we hear this all the time, that we all have great motions, but this has been one of my pet peeves over the last 5 to 10 years. It's about baiting. I would like to make a friendly amendment that it be done 3 weeks prior to their demolition or beginning of work. Because I found out that 2 weeks is not enough for these bait traps to be effective, for the rats to go in and chew up the poison. But I would recommend that we go 3 weeks prior to, and let everything else stay the same, but just the prior to make it 3 weeks rather than 2 weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Granasso.
Thank you, Mr. President. I think this couldn't be timed any better. I had to share an experience over a month ago where there was new construction going on of a 2-family in my ward. And I told and asked the developer if he would bait. And he said, city ordinance doesn't require him to bait. I said, well, being a good neighbor, would you bait? And he said, well, we'll see. We'll look into it. But we really don't have to, by law, bait. And I find that this puts the teeth into any construction, renovation, development, demolition, and conversion projects of buildings have to bait. And Ricky, this is another mindful reaction that you have to benefit the community. And Ward 3 is going to thank you very much, because we're experiencing some development where people are building 1 and 2 family homes. And this will come in place just at the right time because they certainly should bait a untouched land. It's been dormant for years. And all of a sudden you disturb all this activity that might be living beneath it. This is perfect to prevent that. Thank you again, and I think it's a great motion.
Thank you, Councilor Guanasso. Councilor Keefe.
Thank you, Mr. President. I too think this is a great motion. I'm very happy the way it's put together. You know, just my curiosity, this is part of a checklist. Is that, you know, would this be inspected to make sure that it's actually happening, or is it going to be a receipt from, you know, John Smith Extermination Company, and you know, no one actually knows that it was done? I think that it's not just about having it in place, and it's actually someone has to come out and be able to inspect and say that it was done. Correct? Councilor Serena, you would agree with that?
I would totally agree. And again, I guess it would be a question of enforcement,
Right.
but I'm sure, you know, like I said, I believe in the instance that I was using, the inspector did go out, and it was the inspector who found that they weren't baiting correctly, and then they had to
Great.
to
So
fix
then,
that.
then
So,
they know what to look for then. Perfect.
yeah.
All right, great. Thank you. Great motion.
Building inspector should oversight that.
We'll try to add some teeth to the enforcement of this, but it is a great motion, and thank you, Councilor Sereno, for being so detailed in the corrections of even down to a typo. That's impressive.
Best.
Say it again?
To confirm, city councilors, was this amended to read 21 days as opposed to 14 days prior to it going to the public hearing?
I would be okay with that. Absolutely.
Thank you.
Is that what you wanted?
I'm asking the council. I just wanted
Okay.
to clarify before it's ordered to a public
Okay,
hearing,
I guess that's what he wanted. Okay, so we're going to order
Okay.
this to a public hearing, correct?
as amended.
Public hearing.
And there's one late motion presented by Councilor McKenna that the mayor request the building inspector to enforce the noise ordinance relative to the ongoing construction on Ocean Avenue. Construction has been starting at 5 a.m. Monday through Saturday, and work has also been taking place on Sundays. Residents abutting these construction sites have been inundated with noise at all hours of the night for months now. The developers of these properties need to respect the abutting residents and the effects on noise on their quality of life.
Councilor McKenna.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I've been getting many calls for a year plus on this, and I've been dealing with the city on this, but now I feel like it has to come to a motion. The construction workers are leaving their trucks in front of residential housing. They're idling at 5 o'clock in the morning every single day, Monday through Saturday. And this Sunday, they started working at 7 o'clock, and they're not supposed to be working on Sunday. So, you know, I've been trying my best to get the site supervisors in contact with this going on, but it doesn't seem to be working. So now I have to bring it to the council and have the council put it towards the council, because it's the noise is, first of all, the pollution that's coming from these trucks are going into the residential housing, their houses, because they're leaving their trucks on for 2 hours and having coffee. It's ridiculous. So something has to be done. I know the work is almost done, but they still got about 4 or 5 more months that they have to put up with this. So I'm bringing it to the council, and I hope the council will pass this and something will be done. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. Who was that? Councilor Novoselsky.
No, nothing there, Counselor. Hand wasn't lowered. I'm off.
Anyone else on the motion? All in favor, all opposed? So voted. I have a point of personal privilege, myself and Councilor Sereno. I'll let you go first, Councilor.
Thank you, Mr. President. So I think this might be on the same point of personal privilege, but I just wanted to take a moment of silence as a council in memory of Mrs. Nancy DeMano, who Nancy DeMano was the mother of Lenny DeMano, the proprietor of DeMano's restaurant on Malden Street. It was Mrs. DeMano's husband, I believe, who was one of the who started the restaurant was one of the owners of the restaurant. And after he passed away, she carried on the tradition until Lenny could. And Lenny is just a great businessman and a great partner to the city. So we extend our condolences to Lenny, to LJ, to his wife Frida, his sister. I believe the sister is Annette, if I'm not mistaken. To the whole DeMano family. So if we could, Mr. President, have a moment of silence for Mrs. DeMano.
We will, but I first have to say a couple words about Nancy DeMano. I've known her for, I don't even say how many years, because then everybody will know how old I am, but she was a wonderful woman, a strong, powerful woman. She lost her husband when the kids were very young, and she did carry on the tradition until Lenny was old enough to take over the restaurant. And she'll be sorely missed, but she was a very special lady, and Revere lost one of their own. So we'll take a moment of silence, please. And just before we adjourn, just to remind everybody, there will be a zoning subcommittee meeting at 5 o'clock, is it?
Yes.
On the 15th, Monday, the 15th of March. It's an important meeting, and I'll now call on the chairman.
Thank you, Mr. President. This is not zoning related, but I also had a point of personal privilege. Thank you. And I wanted to mention, one is the 12th will be approximately a year since Revere and many other communities has shut down, in essence, to the global pandemic. But this last week, some of our colleagues were able to join Representative Clark, or Congresswoman Clark, and the mayor and his team at the Romney Marsh Academy. I know Council Serino was there, Council Giannino, Council Powers, and a few others, to watch and witness the hope in our senior residents receiving their second vaccination. Really brought so much joy to me, the residents of all over the city. The city of Revere has become a lifeline for the residents of Revere, for healthcare, for common basic needs, food, shelter, like I said, healthcare, testing. It's really done an unbelievable job, and I want to applaud, of course, the mayor and his staff, the public health officials that we have in our city, the unbelievable public health officials and volunteers we have in our city. There were residents down there that were volunteering that I didn't know were involved in this, and I was so happy to see. But I was so happy, and I know Ricky saw it, I know other councils, Council Morabito saw it. Some of these residents, they were just so happy, 75 plus, saying, we just want to live our lives. We just want to be able to go out and live our lives. And I'm so happy and thankful for the city of Revere and the mayor and his unbelievable staff providing that to them. So thank you. Thank you to all the employees that volunteered and all the people that volunteered in these clinics. And I know there's a few more coming up with testing for teachers, and we'll hopefully continue to vaccinate our residents. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And you mentioned we're about to have the anniversary, the one-year anniversary of the 15 days to slow the spread. So where did that go? I wanted to make that meeting with the Congresswoman, even though we don't see eye to eye on a lot of things. However, I was at the funeral of Mr. Hurley, so I got to miss that. But I've talked to so many seniors who just want to live their lives. They've taken a year of their lives away, and now they want to get vaccinated so they can get back to life. And that's where we're at. So no further business. We will have the zoning subcommittee meeting on the 15th, and the next council meeting will be Monday, the 22nd.